to know what it was and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened to him, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasury for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him a copy of the writing of the decree which was given to Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther and declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in to the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for her people. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come into the king, into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words, and Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, Think not of thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then thou shalt enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed, and who knoweth whether thou art come to this kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer, Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night and day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so I will go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went away, and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Chapter 5. And now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel, and stood in the inner corner of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king to her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be even given to thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seems good to the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto a banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleasure the king to grant my petition, and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful, and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai at the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent him and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things therein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said, moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king into the banquet that she had prepared but myself, and tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this avails me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends to him, Let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go in merrily as the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Chapter 6. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records to the chronicles and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, "What honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai for this?" Then said the king's servants that ministered in him, "There is nothing done for him." And the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman had come into the outward court of the king's house to speak to the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he prepared for him. And the king's servant said to him, "Behold, Haman standeth in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king said to him, "What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor?" Now Haman thought in his heart, "To whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself?" And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king used to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the royal crown which is set on his head, and let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of the one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal that the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the streets of the city, and proclaim unto them, Thus it shall be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor." Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste, and take the apparel and the horse as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all thou hast spoken." Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the streets of the city, and proclaimed before him, "Thus it is done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor." And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted his house mourning and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends, everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh, his wife, unto him, "If Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but thou shalt surely fall before him." And while they were talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and hastened to bring Haman to the banquet that Esther had prepared. Chapter 7. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king had said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, "What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom." Then Esther, the queen, answered and said, "If I found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen or bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage." Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, "Who is he, and where is he, that durst presume in his heart to do so?" And Esther said, "The adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman." Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden to the palace of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed where Esther was. Then said the king, "Will he force the queen also before me in the house?" As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains before the king, behold also the gallows 50 foot high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. And the king said, "Hang him thereon." So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath pacified. Chapter 8. On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which was taken from Haman, gave it to Mordecai, and Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spoke yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther, and Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that will come into my people? And how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I've given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write you also for the Jews, as is like unto you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called in at that time in the 3rd month, that is, the month of Sivan, upon 23 day thereof, and was written according to all that Mordecai commanded, unto the Jews and to the lieutenants and the deputies and rulers of provinces, which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on the horseback and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries. Wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, to take the spoils of them for a prey upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar. The copy of the writing for the commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves of their enemies. So the posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed by the king's commandment, and the decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with great crown of gold and garments of fine linen and purple, in the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province and in every city, wheresoever the king commanded, his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and decree drew near to be put in execution, and the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them and that hated them. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout the province of the king Ahasuerus, so that no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all the people. And all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants and deputies and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those who hated them. And in Shushan the palace the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. And Parshandatha, and Dalphonah, and Aspatha, and Portha, and Adaliah, and Arthedia, and Parshmatha, and Arisai, and Aridai, and Vajatha, the 10 sons of Haman the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they. But on the spoil laid, they laid not their hands. On that day the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said to Esther the queen, The Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, what is thy petition, and it shall be granted thee, or what is thy request, and it shall be done? Then said Esther, If it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews, which according to this decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it to be done, and the decree was given by Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day of the month of Adar, and slew 300 at Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hand. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives, and had the rest of their enemies, and slew all of their foes 70 and 5,000, but they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made a 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, a good day, and sending portions one to another. And Mordecai wrote these things, and sent letters to all the Jews that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the year of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which they turned unto them from joy to joy, from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and sending portions one to another, and gifts to poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they'd begun, and Mordecai had written unto them. Because Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and cast her, that is the lot, to consume them and destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letter that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and that which has been concerning this matter, which had come to them, the Jews ordained, and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all that joined them unto them, that it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm the second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces in the kingdom of Ahasuerus with the words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according to Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of the feasting and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book, chapter 10. And the king, Ahasuerus, laid a tribute upon his hand, upon the land, and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the Chronicle and of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepting of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and seeking peace to all his seed. Let God bless the reading of his word. The next book is the book of Job. Job chapter 1.
Job chapter 1.
There was a
somebody
man.
Take us?
If you're ready, if not, I'll keep going.
We're here when you.
What time is it?
Well, I'm confused because.
Job chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that the man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, one every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their fasting was done, that feasting was done about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings, according to the number of all them. For Job said, it may have been that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their heart. Thus did Job continually. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said to Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge around him, about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now, and touch all he has, and he will curse thee to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when the sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there was a messenger unto Job, and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them, and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was speaking, there came also another, and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, have burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. And while he was yet speaking, came another, and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came another, and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose, and rent his mantle, shaved his head, and fell down on the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Chapter 2. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came into the presence to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, and still beholdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him, to destroy him without cause? And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath he'll give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he'll curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot into his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then his wife said to him, Dost thou still retain your integrity? Curse God and die. And he said to her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good from the hand of God, and shall not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard all of this evil that had come upon him, they came, every one of his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamite thrice. And they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off, and knew him not, they lifted up their voices and wept, and they rent every one his mantle, and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. And they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days, 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Chapter 3. After this opened Job his mouth and cursed this day. And Job spoke and said, Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, There is a man-child conceived. Let that day be darkness, let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine on it. Let darkness and the shadow of the death stain it, let a cloud dwell upon it, let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it, let it not be joined into the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to rise up their morning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none, neither let it see the dawning of the day. Because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from my eyes. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breast that I should suck? For now should I have lain still and been quiet, I should have slept. Then I've been at rest with kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver, or as hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants which never saw light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. They are small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and light unto the bitter in soul, which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hidden treasure, which rejoice exceedingly, are glad when they can find the grave. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, and whom God has hedged in? As for sighing cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, that which I was afraid is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. Chapter 4. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, If we assist to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him that was falling, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it is come upon thee, and thou faintest, it toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. Is not this thy fear, thy confidence, thy hope, and the uprightness of thy ways? Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, by the breath of his nostrils they consume, the roaring of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The old lion perish for lack of prey, and the stout lion whelps are scattered abroad. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof. In thoughts from the vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, fear came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Then a spirit passed before my face, the hair of my flesh stood up, but it stood still, and I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying, Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his Maker? Behold, he puts no trust in his servants, his angels he charged with folly. How much less in them than dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is the dust, which are crushed before the moth. They are destroyed from morning to evening, they perish forever, without any regard for it. Doth not their excellency which is in them go away? They die, without even wisdom. Chapter 5. Call now, if there be any that will answer thee? And to which of the saints wilt thou turn? For faith killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I cursed his habitation. His children are far from safety, and they are crushed in the gate. Neither is there any to deliver them. Whose harvest the hungry eateth up, and taketh it out of the thorns, and the robber swallows up their substance. Although affliction cometh not forth of the dust, neither doth trouble spring out of the ground. Yet man is born into trouble as the sparks fly upward. I would seek unto God, and unto God would I commit my cause, which doth great things, and unsearchable marvelous things without number, who giveth rain upon the earth, and sendeth waters on the fields, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope in the noonday as in the night. But he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor hath hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom God correcteth. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty, for he maketh sore, and bindeth up, he wounds, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver thee 6 times, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. In famine he will redeem thee from the death, and in war from the power of the sword.
Hallelujah.
Yet thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shall ye be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For thou shalt be in the league with the stones of the beast, and with the beast in the field shalt thou be at peace with thee. And thou shalt know that thy tabernacle shall be in peace, and thou shalt visit thy habitation, and shalt not sin. Thou shalt know also that thy seed shall be great, and thine offspring as the grass of the earth. Thou shalt come to thy grave in full age, like as a shock of corn cometh in its season. Lo, this, we have searched it, so it is. Hear it, and know it, know thou it, for thy good. Chapter 6. Someone ready?
Yes, I'll read.
Good. Chapter 6.
Good job. Job chapter 6. Clean my glasses. But Job answered and said, Oh, that my grief was thoroughly weighed, and my calamity laid in the balances together. For now it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words are swallowed up. For the arrows of the Almighty are within me. The poison whereof drinketh up my spirit. The terrors of God do set themselves in array against me. Doth the wild ass bray when he hath grass? Or lowereth the ox over his fodder? Can that which unsavory be eaten without salt? Or is it there any taste in the white of an egg? The things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat. Oh, that I might have my request, and that God would grant me the thing that I long for, even that I would please God that it would please God to destroy me, that He would let loose His hand and cut me off. Then should I yet have comfort. Yea, I would harden myself in sorrow. Let him not spare, for I have not concealed the words of the Holy One. What is my strength that I should hope, and what is mine end that I should prolong my life? Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh of brass? Is not my help in me, and is wisdom driven quite from me? To him that is afflicted, pity should be showed from his friend. But he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty. My brethren have dwelt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream of brooks they pass away, which are blackish by reason of the ice, and wherein the snow is hid. What time they wax warm, they vanish. When it is hot, they are consumed out of their place. The paths of their way are turned aside. They go to nothing and perish. The troops of Timnah looked. The companies of Sheba waited for them. They were confounded because they had hoped. They came thither and were ashamed. And now ye are nothing. Ye see my casting down and are afraid. Did I say, bring unto me, or give a reward for me of your substance, or deliver me from the enemy's hand, or redeem me from the hand of the mighty? Teach me, and I will hold my tongue, and cause me to understand wherein I have erred. How forcibly are right words? But what doth your arguing reprove? Do ye imagine to reprove words, and the speeches of one that is desperate, which are as wind? Yea, ye overwhelm the fatherless, and ye dig a pit for your friend. Now therefore be content, look upon me, for it is evident unto you if I lie. Return, I pray you, let not the be iniquity. Yea, return again, my righteousness is in it. Is there iniquity in my tongue? Cannot my taste discern perverse things? Is there not an appointed time to man upon earth? Are not his days also like the days of a hireling? As a servant earnestly desireth the shadow, and as a hireling looketh for the reward of his work, so am I made to possess months of vanity, and wearisome nights are appointed to me, when I lie down and say, when shall I arise, and the night be gone? And I am full of tossings to and fro unto the dawn of the day. My flesh is clothed with worms and clods of dust. My skin is broken and become loathsome. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and are spent without hope. O remember that my life is wind. Mine eyes shall no more see good. The eye of him that hath seen me shall see me no more. Thine eyes are upon me, and I am not. As the cloud is consumed and vanished away, so he that goeth down to the grave shall come up no more. He shall return no more to his house. Neither shall his place know him any more. Therefore I will not refrain my mouth, and I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I a sea or a whale, that thou seest a watch over me? When I say, my belly shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaint, then thou scarest me with dreams, and terrifiest me through visions, so that my soul chooseth strangling and death rather than my life. I loathe it. I would not live always. Let me alone, for my days are vanity. What is man that thou shouldst magnify him, and that thou shouldst set thine heart upon him, and that thou shouldst visit him every morning, and try him every moment? How long wilt thou depart from me, nor let me alone, until I swallow down my spittle? I have sinned. What shall I do unto thee? O thou preserver of men, why hast thou set me as a mark against thee, so that I am a burden to myself? And why dost thou not pardon my transgression, and take away mine iniquity? For now shall I sleep in the dust, and thou shalt seek me in the morning, but I shall not be. Job chapter 8. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite, and said, How long wilt thou speak these things, and how long shall the words of thy mouth be like a strong wind? Doth God pervert judgment? Doth the Almighty pervert judgment? If thy children have sinned against him, and he have cast them away from their transgressions, if thou wouldst seek unto God betimes, and make thy supplications to the Almighty, if thou wert pure and upright, surely now he would awake for thee, and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should be greatly increased. Hallelujah! For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because our days upon earth are a shadow. Shall not they teach thee, and tell thee, and utter words out of their hearts? Can the rush grow without mire? Can the flag grow without water? Wilt it yet in the greenness and not cut down? While it's in the greenness and not cut down, it wither before any other herb. So are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish. Whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web? He shall lean upon his house, but it shall not stand. He shall hold it fast, but it shall not endure. He is green before the sun, and his branch shooteth forth in his garden. His roots are wrapped about the heap, and seeth the place of stones. If he destroy him from his place, then it shall deny him, saying, I have not seen thee. Behold, this is the joy of his way, and out of the earth shall others grow. Behold, God will not cast away a perfect man, neither will he help the evildoers. Better. Behold, God will not cast away a perfect man, neither will he help the evildoers, till he fill thy mouth with laughing, and thy lips with rejoicing. They that hate thee shall be clothed with shame, and the dwelling place of the wicked shall come to naught. Chapter 9. Then Job answered and said, I know it is so of a truth, but how should man be just with God? If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him 1 of 1,000. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength, who hath hardened himself against him, and hath prospered, which removeth the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger, which spake to the earth out of the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble, which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars, which alone spreadeth out the heavens, and treadeth upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south, which doth great things past finding out, yea, and wonders without number. Lo, he goeth by me, and I see him not. He passeth on also, but I perceive him not. Behold, he taketh away. Who can hinder him? Who will say unto him, What dost thou? If God will not withdraw his anger, the proud helpers do stoop under him. How much less shall I answer him, and choose out my words to reason with him? Whom though I were righteous, yet I not answer. But I would make supplication to my judge. If I had called, and he had answered me, yet I would not believe that he had hearkened unto my voice. For he breaketh me with a tempest, and multiplieth my wounds without cause. He will not suffer me to take my breath, but fills me with bitterness. If I speak of strength, lo, he is strong. And if of judgment, who shall set me a time to plead? If I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. Though I were not perfect, though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life. This is one thing, thereof I said it. He destroyeth the perfect and the wicked. If the scourge slay suddenly, he will laugh at the trial of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Now my days are swifter than a post. They flee away. They see no good. They are passed away as the swift ships, as the eagle that hastens to his prey. If I say, I will not forget my complaint, I will leave off my heaviness and comfort myself. I am afraid of all my sorrows. I know that thou wilt not hold me innocent. If I be wicked, why then labor I in vain? If I wash myself with snow water, and make my hands never so clean, yet shalt thou plunge me in the ditch, and mine own clothes shall abhor me. For he is not a man as I am, that I should answer him, and we should come together in judgment. Neither is there any daysman betwixt us.
Can Ben have a Frosty?
Here, I'll pick up at the next chapter. Hope you'll eat a toast. Finish your chapter.
Neither is there any daysman twixt us that might lay his hand upon us both. Let him take his rod away from me, and let not his fear terrify me. Then would I speak and not fear him, but it is not so with me.
Chapter 10, Book of Job. Continuing with reading. My soul is weary of my life. I will speak my complaint upon myself. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say unto God, do not condemn me. Show me whenceforth thou contendest with me. It is good unto thee that thou shouldest oppress, that thou shouldest despise the work of thy hands. Hast thou eyes of flesh, or seest thou as man seeth? Are thy days as the days of man? Are thy years as man's days? That thou inquirest after mine iniquity, and searchest after my sin? Thou knowest that I am not wicked, and there is none that can deliver out of thine hands. Thine hands have made me and fashioned me together round about me. Yet thou dost destroy me. Remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt bring me into dust again. Hast thou not poured me out as milk, and curdled me like cheese? Hast thou clothed me with skin and flesh? Hast thou fenced me with bones and sinew? Thou hast granted me life and favor, and thy visitation hath preserved my spirit. And these things hast thou hid in thine heart. I know that this is with thee. If I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity. If I be wicked, woe unto me. But if I be righteous, yet will I not lift up my head. I am full of confusion. Therefore see thou mine affliction, for it increaseth. Thou huntest me as a fierce lion, and against thou showest thyself marvelous upon me. Thou renewest thy witness against me, and increaseth my indignation upon me. Changes and war are against me. Wherefore hast thou brought me forth out of the womb? Oh, that I had given up the ghost, and no eye had seen me. I should have been as though I had not been. I should have been carried from the womb to my grave. Are not my days few? Cease then, and let me alone, that I may take comfort in a little. Before I go whence, I shall not return. Even to the land of darkness and the shadow of death, the land of darkness as darkness itself, and out of the shadow of death without any order, and where the light is as darkness. Chapter 11. Then Zophar the Naamite said, should not the multitude of words be answered? And should a man full of talk be justified? Why should thy lies make men hold their peace? And when thou mockest, shall no man make thee ashamed? For thou hast said, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in thy eyes. But oh, that God would speak, and open his lips against thee, and that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that God exacted of thee less than thine iniquity deserveth. Canst thou by searching find out God? Canst thou find out the Almighty unto perfection? Is it as high as heaven? What canst thou do? Deeper than hell? What canst thou know? The measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he be cut off and shut up, or gathered together, then who can hinder him? For he knoweth vain men, he seeketh wickedness also, and will not then consider it. For vain man would be wise, though man be born like a wild ass's coat. If thou preparest thine heart, and stretch out thine hands towards him, if iniquity be in thy hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacle. For then shalt thou lift up the face without spot, and thou shalt be steadfast and shalt not fear, because thou shalt forget the misery, and remember it as waters that pass away, and thine age shall be clearer than the noonday. Thou shalt shine forth, thou shalt be as morning, and thou shalt be secure, because there is hope. Yea, thou shalt dig about thee, and thou shalt take the rest in safety, and thou shalt lay down, and none shall make thee afraid. Yet many shall make suit unto thee. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. And Job answered and said, No doubt, but ye are the people, and wisdom shall die with you. But I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you, yet, yea, who knoweth not such things as these? I am as one mocked of his neighbor, who calleth upon God and answereth him. The just, upright man is laughed to scorn. He that is ready to slip with his feet is as a lamp despised in the thought of him that is at ease. The tabernacles of the robbers prosper, and they that provoke God are secure, into whose hand God bringeth abundantly. But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach you, and the fowls of the air, they shall tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare it to you. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this, and whose hand is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind? Doth not the ear try words, and the mouth taste his meat? With the ancient is wisdom, and the length of days understanding. With him is wisdom and strength, that hath counsel and understanding. Behold, he breaketh down, and he cannot be built up. He shutteth up a man, and there shall be no opening. Behold, he withhold the water, and they dry up. Also he sendeth them out, and they overturn the earth. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. He ladeth counselors away spoiled, and maketh judges full. He looseth the bonds of kings, and girdeth the loins with a girdle. He leads princes away spoiled, and overthroweth the mighty. He removeth the speech of the trusty, and taketh away the understanding of the aged. He poureth contempt upon princes, and weakens the strength of the mighty. He heareth me in his wrath, and he hateth me. He gnasheth upon me with his teeth, and mine enemies sharpen his eyes upon me. But they gaped upon me with their mouth. They have spit me with the cheek reproachfully. They have gathered themselves together against me. God hath delivered me to the ungodly, and turned me over to the hands of the wicked. I was at ease, but he hath broken me asunder. He hath also taken me by the neck, and shaken me to pieces, and set me up for his mark. His archers compass me round about. He cleaveth my rein asunder, and doth not spare. He poureth out my gall upon the ground. He breaketh me like with breach upon breach. He runneth upon me like a giant. I have sown sackcloth upon my skin, defiled my horn in the dust. My face is fouled with his reaping, and on my eyelids is the shadow of his death, as not for any injustice in my hand. Also my prayer is pure. On earth, cover not thou my blood, and let my cry have no place. Also now, behold, my witness is in heaven, and my record is on high. My friends scorn me, but mine eyes forth out tears unto God. Oh, that one might plead for a neighbor with God as a man pleadeth for his neighbor. When a few years have come, then I shall go away, whence I shall not return. Chapter 17. My breath is corrupt. My days are extinct. The graves are ready for me. Are there not markers with me? And doth mine eyes continue in their provocation? Lay down now. Put me in a surety with thee. Who is he that will strike hands with me? For thou hast hid their heart from understanding. Therefore shalt thou not exalt them. He that speaketh flattery to his friends, even the eyes of his children shall fail. He hath made me also a byword of the people, and aforetime I was as a tabré. Mine eye also is dim by reason of shadow of sorrow, and of all my members are a shadow. Upright men shall be astonished at this, and the innocent shall stir up himself against the hypocrite. The righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that hath clean hands shall be stronger and stronger. But as for you all, do you return and come now? For I cannot find one wise man among you. My days are past, my purposes are broken off, even the thoughts of my heart. They change the night into day, the light is short because of the darkness. If I wait, the grave is mine house. I've made my bed in the darkness. I've said to corruption, thou art my father, and to the worm, thou art my mother and my sister. Where is now my hope? As for my hope, who shall see it? They go down to the bars of the pit, when our rest together is in the dust. 18. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite, and said, How long will it be ere you make an end of words? Mark, and afterwards we will speak. Wherefore? Are we counted as beasts and reputed vile in your sight? He teareth himself in his anger. What, the earth is forsaken for thee? And shall the rock be removed out of his place? Yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The gin shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger-bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. He shall devour the strength of his skin, even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out in the tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. It shall dwell in his tabernacle because it is one of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His roots shall be dried up there beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remember shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from the light in the darkness, and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, and they that went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not God. Chapter 19. Then Job answered and said, How long will you vex my soul and break me into pieces with words? These 10 times you've reproached me, and you are not ashamed, that you make yourself strange to me. And be it indeed that I have erred, my error remaineth with myself. If indeed you will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach, know now that God hath overthrown me and hath compassed me with his net. Behold, I cry out of wrong, but I am not heard. I cry aloud, there is no judgment. He hath fenced up my way that I cannot pass. He hath set darkness in my paths. He hath stripped me of my glory and taken the crown from my head. He hath destroyed me on every side, and I am gone, and mine hope hath been removed like a tree. He that kindleth his wrath against me, and he counteth me unto him as one of his enemies. His troops come together, and I raise their way against me, and encamp around my tabernacle. He hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are verily estranged from me. And my kinfolks have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. They that dwell in my house and my maids count me as a stranger of an alien in their sight. I call my servant, and he will give me no answer. I entreat him with my mouth. My breath is strange to my wife, though I entreated for the children's sake of mine own body. Yea, young children despise me. I rose and they spake against me, and my inward friends abhorred me. And they whom I loved are turned against me. My bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh. I am escaped from the skin of my teeth. Have pity upon me, O ye friends, for the hand of God has touched me. Why do you persecute me as God, and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book, that they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand in the latter day upon the earth. And though my skin worms destroy my body, yet in my flesh shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself. Mine eyes shall behold and shall answer. Though my reins be consumed within me, but you shall say, why persecute we him? Seeing the root of the matter is found in me, be ye afraid of the sword. For wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that ye may know there is a judgment. Chapter 20. Then Zophar the Naamite said, Therefore do my thoughts cause me to answer, and for this I make haste. I have heard the check of my reproach, and the spirit of my understanding causeth me to answer. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach to the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, Where is he? He shall fly away as a dream, and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. The eye also which was him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though wickedness be swept in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned, it is gall of asp within him. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asp, the viper's tongue will slay him. He shall see the brook, the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, he shall not rejoice therein. Because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away a house which he builded not, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left, therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be as straits, and every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, God will cast the fury of the wrath upon him, and shall rain on him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. He is drawn and cometh out of the body. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of its gall. Terrors are upon him. All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. The heavens shall reveal his iniquity. The earth shall rise against him. The increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of the wrath. This is the portion of the wicked man from God, and heritage appointed to him by God. Chapter 21. Who's ready? Chapter 21.
Chapter 21.
Run to it.
Anyway, do it.
Everybody wants to read Job.
Chapter 21.
I just need a little break while I drink some water.
I'm going to have to go back and read that chapter 3. I think chapter 3.
Job chapter 21. But Job answered and said,
Hear diligently my speech, and let this be your constant